Hello, my name is Terrain Singleton, and today I will be presenting on the process of assessments. We will be discussing the process of assessments in the following areas: intelligence, academic performance, language, perceptual functioning, behavior, physical development, and social emotional functioning. The process of assessments are important in the educational field, in particular because teachers and other educational professionals can use the assessments to gather information in order to monitor progress and make any educational decisions if found necessary. Intelligence can be defined as a general concept of an individual's ability to function effectively within various settings, usually assessed by intelligence tests. Most people are familiar with the term IQ, which stands for intelligence quotient. It's expressed by a standard score, usually with a mean of 100. IQ scores have been controversial in the past. However, schools still use the results of this test to determine which educational setting students should be placed in. The process of assessment for academic performance is usually expressed through academic achievement tests. These tests measure academic progress. In other words, the tests are looking for what the student has retained from instruction. Are the students grasping the concepts and reaching the educational goals that the teacher has set out? An example of an achievement test is the Woodcock-Johnson 4 tests of achievement. Using this assessment, the examiner may administer specific clusters to screen a student's achievement level or to determine a pattern of strengths and weaknesses. The standard battery of subsets in this assessment include anything from calculation to spelling and oral reading. Language is either spoken or written. It's using words in a structured way to convey an idea. It can be verbal or nonverbal. The process of assessment for language would look like measuring verbal concepts and verbal understanding. An example of that assessment would be the Test of Language Development, Primary 4th Edition. This assessment uses several subsets to evaluate language. For instance, picture vocabulary, oral vocabulary, sentence imitation, and word discrimination. The results of this test will determine whether a teacher needs to refer a student for further intervention. The process of assessment for perceptual functioning would look different for each student. An important assessment to use in this area is an ecological or environmental assessment. This is when a teacher or other educational professional would evaluate the student in his or her natural environment to determine if any other supports are needed. The process of assessment for behavior would use functional behavioral assessments. Behavioral challenges, like educational challenges, are to be addressed within 3-tier structure in the school setting. The first tier is individual, the second tier is a specialized group, and the third tier is classroom or school-wide. Functional behavior assessments are measures to determine the function or purpose of a child's behavior. It does not aim to describe or label the type of behavior or disorder, rather seek an answer to the question of why the inappropriate behavior is occurring. The results of this assessment would determine if the student needs further intervention. As a fairly new mom of 2 small children, the physical development of my children are very important. I'm always considering if my children have reached their developmental milestone. Are they gaining weight? Are they, moving as they should in order to grow up to be healthy adults? In the educational world, teachers and education professionals kind of look at it in the same way. You want to consider the developmental delays. Generally, physical development is how one develops over time in appearance and body control or motor skills. An example of an assessment is the Brigance Inventory of Early Development, 3 standardized. This inventory includes assessments for physical development, such as gross motor skills, fine motor skills, receptive and expressive language. When considering the process of assessment for social emotional functioning, one has to consider the student's social emotional well-being. Some students suffer from emotional disturbance. Those students have to meet specific criteria, at least one of the following: an inability to learn, difficulty in establishing and maintaining relationships. They have to express behaviors that are inappropriate for the circumstance. They have a persistent mood of unhappiness or physical symptoms manifested as the result of fears or concerns about school or other problems. The example of an assessment for social emotional functioning is a scale of assessing emotional disturbance. The measures on this instrument are consistent with 5 requirements of the federal regulations. The classroom teacher and other educators working with the student may be asked to complete a variety of questionnaires and checklists to assist in the determination. The use of multiple checklists provides information about these multiple settings and social encounters. And again, as with any assessment, the results will be used to consider any additional supports or interventions necessary. In conclusion,